Good morning. It's December 15th, and this is To My Liberal Friends. The political paradigm has changed in recent years, and it may become a major problem for Joe Biden. For years, the Republican Party was viewed as the one that consisted of the country club set, college-educated people and suburban and rural voters. Democrats were the party of the working man, minorities, and white liberal elites. But things are changing, and where they are changing is the important part of this discussion. Donald Trump was able to appeal to the blue-collar working voters, moving many of them to the Republican column. White, college-educated people were turned off by Trump, and many of them moved to the Democratic column. That is what's changing the polling in swing states that are going to have a major say in the next election. I've been saying all along that there are 6 to 7 states that will decide the 2024 presidential election. Most of the states are locked up by one party or the other. Nobody expects New York, California, New York, New Jersey, or Illinois to be anything but heavily Democrat votes. But the same can be said for a host of states that are decided Republican. It is the big states that I just mentioned that normally give the Democrats an edge in the election. The states that are going to be key to the election are Michigan, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Georgia, Arizona, and Nevada. It is these battleground states that each candidate will either win or lose the election. In 2016, Trump was winning against Hillary Clinton in these states, and in 2020, Joe Biden carried them to ensure his victory. Now, I've often said that in 2016, people were voting more against Hillary than they were for Trump, and the reverse in 2020, where they voted more against Trump than for Biden. Well, a run of national polls have had Biden losing to Trump, but even worse, so have a number of swing state polls. The latest are Michigan and Georgia by CNN, not exactly a conservative bastion. In the former, Biden is behind by 10 points. In the latter, he's trailing by 5 points. Peering into the crosstabs of these polls, it's clear that Biden's woes in these states have a lot to do with declining support among working class voters. So let's look at some of the relevant data, starting with Michigan. In CNN's Michigan poll, Trump's ahead by 21 points among working class, meaning non-college voters, while Biden is ahead by 10 points among college-educated voters, reaffirming what I said before. But Michigan is an overwhelmingly working-class state. And according to that poll, Michigan should be around 71% working-class eligible voters in 2024, and that's not a real favorable pattern for Democrats. The poll asked voters about several characteristics about whether Biden and Trump had exactly the characteristics they would like to see in a president. Close enough or not what you'd want in a president. On Biden, 61% of Michigan's working-class voters say his policy positions on major issues are not what they'd like to see in a president. Worse, 65% of these voters believe Biden's ability to understand the problems of people like them is not what they want in a president. And worse yet, 72% Biden's sharpness and stamina, talking about his age, isn't what they'd like to see in a president. In contrast, strong majority of Michigan's working class voters see Trump's major policy position, his ability to understand the problems of people like them, and his sharpness and stamina as exactly what they'd like to see in a president. In CNN's Georgia poll, Trump's ahead by 14 points among working class voters, while Biden is ahead by 7 points among college-educated voters. Georgia, too, is an overwhelmingly working class state, likely around 67% working class eligible voters in the next election, putting the Democrats in a pretty tenable position. In 2020, Biden lost Georgia working class voters by just 6 points, so his current 14-point deficit is an 8-point swing against him. But his current 7-point lead among college-educated voters is only 3 points less than his lead among those voters in 2020. As in Michigan, working-class defections are driving the move away from Biden to Trump. The Georgia CNN poll has the same questions as the Michigan poll, so it gives us the ability to look at the same Biden evaluations. Georgia's working-class voters are far more likely to think Biden's policies have worsened economic conditions than improved them by a 58 to 22% margin. As for desired characteristics in a president, strong majority of Georgia's working-class voters see Biden as not having what they would like to see in a president on major policy positions, his ability to understand people like them, and especially having the sharpness and stamina to do the job. With Trump, it's exactly the reverse. On all 3 of these characteristics, strong majority of Georgia's working-class voters seems exactly what they want in a president, or close enough. The polling on the national level is not much better for Biden when it comes to the working-class voters, a block that's essential for him in swing states, because each of these states have a large number in that group. Biden's working-class approval rating on handling the economy is just 26%. This is nationwide, Among college-educated, in contrast, it's more respected with 43%. His approval rating on helping the middle class is a mere 28% among working class voters. On handling crime, his rating is 31%. It's scarcely better than what he's doing in all categories. On which party is closer to voters' views on issues, working class voters favor Republicans over Democrats by 16 points on the economy. Intriguingly, the parties are essentially tied among Hispanics on the issue. That's not good news for Biden. On immigration, working class voters prefer the GOP by 22 points. Even more intriguingly, Hispanics favor Republicans over Democrats by 6 points on the immigration issue. Working class voters also favor Republicans by 18 points on crime and policing, 12 points on America's role in the world, 6 points on helping the middle class, and 4 points on education. The strongest area for Democrats among these voters, not surprisingly, is abortion. Even here, they only have a single-digit 8-point lead, far less than their lead among college-educated. Almost half, 47%, of working-class voters are very worried that the cost of living will be too high for them to continue living in their current community. Another 32% are somewhat worried, for a total of 79%. Now, these numbers should scare every Democratic strategist. Joe Biden's not connecting with the groups they need to win. It is these groups that inflation has hit the hardest. It is these groups that go to the grocery store and leave dejected. For them, wages have simply not kept up with inflation. And while Biden likes to tout the fact that inflation is coming down, he seems tone deaf, along with his allies, that these prices that everyday Americans have to pay to feed their families remain at historic highs. I don't know how he fixes that problem. And once again, in 2024, more voters will be voting against Joe Biden than for Donald Trump. And that seems to be our current pattern in our political situation. It's been To My Liberal Friends. Thanks for listening.